So next, we have a speaker whose name we've heard many times in this space so far, and I'm so grateful that we're going to be hearing her words, even though she can't be here in person, and that is Kwaneta Harris. Kwaneta is a former nurse, business owner, and expat, and now an award-winning incarcerated journalist. She's written for numerous outlets and co-authored the book, Ending Isolation, The Case Against Solitary Confinement. Now she's working on a book about the teenagers from juvenile detention who were her neighbors in adult solitary confinement. She's also a winner of Truth Out's Keely Shenwar Memorial Essay Prize, which I mentioned earlier, and I hope everybody goes and reads her essay because it was actually life-changing for me. To read Kwaneta's words, we have Dr. Chelsea Moore with us. Yay. Chelsea Moore is the former director of Look to Justice. Chelsea and her husband, Christopher Blackwell, whose name you may have heard today. Chris is incarcerated at the Washington Correction Center and co-founded Look to Justice. And Chelsea is a published researcher and an award-winning instructor, and we're so grateful that she too can join us. So come on up, Chelsea.
Hey everyone, Kwaneta's sorry that she couldn't be, we're sorry that Kwaneta couldn't be here with us today, and that the prison telecommunication system didn't work enough for her to record this, so you'll have me instead. All right. Write or Die, why I started writing and why you need to help more of us do it. All right. So first, thank you for having me, or having my words, I guess, since I'm obviously not physically in the room. But that's kind of the whole point of what I want to talk to you about today. I'm talking to you from inside the largest women's prison in Texas, where I've been incarcerated for almost 19 years now. 8.5 of those years were spent in solitary confinement, a cell, a box, by myself, no phone, no TV, no real human contact, in Texas heat with no air conditioning, just me, 4 walls, and eventually a pen. So let's talk about that pen. Let's talk about why I picked it up, what it did to me, and why I'm begging you, not asking, begging you, to make sure more people, or I am, get access to that same thing. How I got here, the short version. I'm from Detroit. I was a nurse, I owned a business, I lived overseas as an expat, I was a wife, and I am a mother of 3. I had a whole entire life. And then I survived domestic violence and ended up incarcerated. That's the short version. I'll save the long version for another day. What I will tell you is that when I got here to Texas, it felt like a cultural collision. I was a black woman from the North, dropped into a rural Texas prison system that didn't quite know what to do with me, and honestly didn't try too hard to figure it out. Guards say Happy James Earl Ray Day on Dr. King's holiday, and asked if black people even celebrated Father's Day, and I'm not making this up. This is the environment that I walked into. And then I entered solitary for 8.5 years. Now I want you to really think about what that means. You are locked in a cage, sometimes 24 hours a day. You can't see people that you're talking to. You learn voices and hold conversations through heating vents. You palm the mesh windows of cell doors to say goodbye to women whose faces you have never seen. That was my life, witnessing suicides, suicide attempts, and staff on incarcerated person sexual and physical abuse, and it broke me. I won't sugarcoat it. Isolation does something to your mind, and I don't have enough time to fully explain that today, but I will say this. It was worse than anything else I'd ever been through, and I have been through a lot. Why I started writing. Writing didn't start as something beautiful or romantic, at least not for me. It started because I was losing my mind and I needed somewhere to put it. In solitary, you don't have many options. You can let the silence swallow you whole, or you can start talking back to it. I started writing because I had thoughts that were too big for that cell. I had rage that needed somewhere to go. I had observations about the women around me, the conditions we were surviving, and a system that was supposed to be about rehabilitation, but felt more like erasure. I started writing letters, then journal entries, then I started writing about things, real things, like the fact that in Texas, incarcerated folks are still picking cotton and growing produce in triple-digit heat that we never get to eat, food that gets sold to grocery chains, like the fact that women's specific needs, menstruation, menopause, basic hygiene, and healthcare go completely unmet because the system was not created for women in mind. I wrote because nobody else was saying it. I wrote because from inside a solitary cell in rural Texas, I could see things that the outside world had no idea were happening. And then a journalist I admire, Vicki Law, pushed me to actually submit something. So I did. I wrote about the brutality of working in the prison fields under armed guards on horseback for Truth Out, and I won their contest. I was stunned. Not that just it was published, but that people cared. That was the moment I realized, oh, I have a voice, and people will actually listen to it. It took me 49 years to figure that out. What writing did for me. Let me be real with you. Writing saved my life. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean it functionally, practically saved my life. When you're in prison, you stop existing to the outside world. You are invisible. The state doesn't see you as a person. You are a number, a case file, a problem to be contained. Your family struggles to reach you. Your children are growing up without you. You start to wonder if you matter, if anyone knows you're there, if you're real. Writing made me real again. It gave me purpose inside a place that is specifically designed to strip you of purpose. Every article I wrote was proof that I existed. Every byline, Rolling Stone, Cosmopolitan, Teen Vogue, This American Life, was proof that the state couldn't disappear me completely, no matter how hard it tried. And I want to be honest, it wasn't always good. I've received hate mail, racist, violent hate mail, people telling me to kill myself, people writing that they wanted to rape me and string me up. And I remember thinking, I am fighting every single day just to survive in here, and someone out there is wasting their time writing me death threats. It really shocked me. But I kept writing because the alternative was silence, and silence in this place is surrender. Writing also gave me community, even from inside a solitary cell. I started a small writing group. We became part of something. We contacted with journalists, advocates, lawyers, and readers who were paying attention. I co-authored a book, Ending Isolation, The Case Against Solitary Confinement. I'm a senior writer and editor for Solitary Watch. I'm a lead advisor with The Bridge. I founded Ask Kwaneta, a newsletter connecting people on the inside who have questions with people on the outside who can answer them. And I've collected a few awards and fellowships along the way. All of that from inside a cell in Texas. That is the power of a pen. That is the power of access to creative spaces. Why carceral journalism? Why our stories matter now? Here's what I need you to really pay attention to, because this is the part that matters beyond just my personal story. People think prison means rehabilitation. They think there are programs, counseling, meaningful work, and that people are being set up for success upon their release. Although Texas men's prisons have about 7 times more programs than women's prisons, rehabilitation still isn't happening as marketed, and the people who I know that are and the people who know that best are the folks who are living in it. I know firsthand that our reporting can change things. When I document that women here were dying from heat-related illnesses, That reporting contributed directly to incarcerated women in solitary gaining access to air conditioning. When the state stripped us of our clothing, literally took our pants, shirts, and jackets and mandated we wear gowns 24 hours a day, as if we were extras from The Handmaid's Tale, no media believed it. No one would touch it, except NPR. After they reported the story using all of my documentation and evidence, the policy was reversed. That didn't happen because of a lawsuit or a legislative hearing. It happened because of journalism, because of one writer inside with access to a pen and a journalist on the outside willing to listen. I've also reported continuously on staff on incarcerated sexual abuse. That reporting recently led to an announcement that all female guards would staff the sensitive areas where we sleep, shower, and dress, areas that have been exclusively staffed by all male guards. No outsider can tell you what it sounds like when a 17-year-old girl in a cell next to you must exchange sexual favors for toilet paper. No one can write that story in the same way as someone who lives it can. We are the experts on our own oppression, period. Women's prison in the South are the blueprint. I want to say something that I don't think gets said enough, especially in conversations about freedom and civil liberties. Women's prison in the South are not a side issue. They are a testing ground. The policies that get perfected here, like the censorship of what we can read and say, the elimination of bodily autonomy, the mandatory Christian nationalist programming pushed in every corner of daily life, these are not isolated institutional quirks. These are blueprints. What gets normalized inside these walls has a way of creeping outward. When you understand that the state can strip women of their clothing and mandate gowns around the clock or ban books about women's health by claiming pictures of breasts and reproductive systems are sexually explicit images, or control what we can write and whether we can be paid for it, you are looking at a system practicing, refining, and expanding authoritarian control. The rest of society should be paying very close attention to what happens to us, because the impulse behind these policies does not stop at the prison gate. What this reporting has cost me. I want to be transparent with you about something because I think it matters. This reporting has come with serious retaliation. When you speak up in here, you pay for it. Guards have turned off the water in my cell. That means I couldn't flush my toilet, and nothing comes out of a faucet when I turn the knob. They have turned the heat on in the summer. They have withheld feminine hygiene products. These are not accidents. These are messages. And this prison has banned me from all in-person media interviews. Let that sit for a moment. I am banned from speaking face-to-face with any journalist. My voice has to travel through layers of restriction just to reach you. That is precisely why we need more reporters inside. When they transfer us to different prisons, put us in solitary, when they find a way to cut off our access, someone needs to be there to pick up the story. The reporting cannot depend on one or a couple of people. It has to be a network, a community, a sustained presence. Every incarcerated journalist who gets silenced or moved takes irreplaceable institutional knowledge with her. Note: incarcerated people are banned from corresponding with each other across facilities. We need more people trained, supported, and protected so that the stories keep moving even when the individual writers are stopped. Why we need to expand these spaces right now? Okay, so here's my ask. I want to start by just being frank. I am not a hell of a writer. I know that. I say that without apology, but I also know that I don't have to be, because what matters more than polished prose is the fact that these stories are not being told at all. I am one of the very few people telling them. I am not the only woman witnessing a suicide almost weekly and suicide attempts daily. I am not the only woman who has had a guard standing beside the door at the doctor during my pap smear. I am not the only woman who has been issued the same ratio of toilet paper as a men's facility. And hello, we use it every single time we use the bathroom. There is no shake and go, and also we bleed. These are not abstract policy failures. These are humiliations that women experience inside the carceral system daily, and they go almost entirely unnoticed because the system was created by men, for men, and women were added without anyone stopping to ask what we actually needed. Women's experiences inside are invisible, not because they are not happening, but because almost no one is writing them down. Imagine if there was a newsroom in every dorm. Imagine women documenting nonsensical rules like strip searches before and after video visits, or documenting their pregnancies by staff. Imagine those stories moving consistently out these walls and into the world. People's perception of us, of these institutions, would change. It would have to, because right now, there is a massive, well-funded public relations campaign working against us. It is used to justify building more cages, more mandatory minimums, to justify the dehumanization that makes this all possible. We are the first line of defense against this campaign. Not the lawyers, not the legislature, not even the advocates, as important as they are to us. The people living in it with pens and paper and willingness to say, this is what actually is happening in here. This is why I write. This is why we need more of us to write. Not because every one of us will win fellowships and awards, but because the sheer volume of our voices, undeniable, documented, and specific, is a thing that makes it more impossible for the outside world to keep looking away. There are people where I am, brilliant and sharp, who have never been told that their story matters. Writing programs don't exist in Texas women's prisons. I established an underground one with mentorship. Access to materials, paper, pens, postage, and a typewriter is restricted, inconsistent, and sometimes weaponized as a form of punishment. The barriers are not small. They are deliberate. And what we lose because of that is incalculable. We lose stories that could change legislation. We lose journalism that could expose abuses that would otherwise never see daylight. We lose the healing that comes when a person finally has a container for their pain, because writing is a container. It holds things that would otherwise destroy us from the inside. When you expand access to writing spaces for us, you are correcting an injustice. You are saying our experiences matter to everyone who lives in a society with the prison operating in their name. You should want to know what's happening in here, and we are the ones who can tell you. A few things you can actually do. I don't like speeches that end without somewhere to put your energy. So let me give you some concrete things. Support organizations that fund incarcerated writers, Prison Journalism Project, Solitary Watch, Look to Justice, Empowerment Avenue, and Haymarket Books. These organizations are doing real work, and they need real resources. If you're an editor, a publisher, a journalist, read us, assign us, publish us, pay us. Don't just treat our stories as charity content. We are professionals. Treat us like it. And promote education, because the research is clear. Education, creative expression behind bars reduces recidivism, reduces violence, improves mental health outcomes, and maybe, most important, reminds a human being that they are still a human being. Let me leave you with this. My motto is write or die. I say that with full seriousness and also with a little bit of dark humor, because in here, dark humor is all you've got. But here's what I mean by it. Writing is not optional for me. It was survival. It was the thing that kept my mind intact when the state was doing everything it could to hollow me out. It was how I stayed connected to the world, to my sense of self, when the system was trying to make all that disappear. Every person in a cell somewhere in this country deserves the chance to find that. Not everyone is going to become a journalist. Not everyone wants to be. But everyone deserves a chance to put words to their experience, to process it, to share it, if they so choose, to be heard. That is not a privilege. That's a basic human need. So thank you for listening to mine. Now go make sure somebody else gets to be heard too. Ride or die.